Dorks. This is the Turtle Dork here for another recap and review. We are going along season 3, episode 3. Oh man, did we get the name of this episode? We didn't do it, did we? I know it was directed by David Benioff of Benioff and Weiss. So yeah, episode 3. I'm Turtle Dork. This is the Disco Dork. We're gonna dive into this. All right. So the one thing I do remember is Edmure. This is Rob's uncle, and they are at a ceremony for a funeral for Caitlyn's grandfather who has passed away, and there's a ceremony where, like you were talking about with the Vikings, how they'll put the they'll put the body out to sea, and then they need to take a flaming bow and arrow and set it ablaze, set it on fire. Mm-hmm. So Lord Edmure, Rob's uncle, is afforded the opportunity to go ahead and do this, and he doesn't have the best of aim. So I didn't realize that this episode started like this, but talk about all the time, man. This show is extremely, extremely hilarious when they have these nice little moments like this. And this is just one of those situational humor moments that I thought really, really kind of worked well. And then you have Caitlyn's uncle. I didn't get his name, who kind of takes the bow and arrow. It's like, look, let me do this shit. And he does it. And
Kobe! He basically did this shit without looking.
I know. He did the fadeaway. He did the fadeaway jumper, and basically walked away and was like, look, you're an embarrassment. But I just thought that was a funny scene. But that dovetails into the scene that Rob is talking to Edmure about. Now, I'm not sure, they're at River Run, and he was talking about how him and his forces took over, I guess that was River Run, and they were talking about the mountain and his forces, and he was telling Edmure he wanted him to hold back.
Yeah, so basically Edmure did something similar to what Theon did, as far as taking initiative and taking it upon himself to execute a mission that was not in line strategically with what Rob was trying to do.
Yeah.
And what I noted during this particular scene is that, for me, this feels like, I mean, granted, we previously had, Rob and Talisa are married. So when that happened, you're like, okay, you just doomed yourself. Yeah. But that is in direct correlation to the Red Wedding. But with this particular conversation between Rob and Edmure, it feels like this is, as far as military strategic wise, this is the part where we start to see Rob in a different light. Because previously, within the first and the second season, like, Rob was a problem for everybody. Like, as far as Tywin and the Lannisters, like, he's just been dominated on the battlefield.
Right. And
like,
now we're starting to see him kind of lose a step.
It's starting to unravel a little bit, because you have people who are, again, doing things that aren't in line with his mission. And on top of that, he's fucking up on his own by doing things that aren't in line with promises he's made in regards to marrying Talisa when he's supposed to be wed to someone else. So these things are happening on multiple fronts that are his relationship with Caitlyn and what's going on with them. And she's doing things that don't align with what he is. So you have all these external forces around Rob that are contributing to what will ultimately be, episode 9 of this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as we get closer to that. Let's jump to that small council meeting that Tywin was having in King's Landing. Again,
another scene that opens up with a bit of humor.
Yeah, opens up with a bit of humor, with them taking the chairs and just trying to position where everyone wants to sit. And so you have Varys, you have Littlefinger, and you have Pycelle there, and they all take a seat, and then Tyrion is just kind of standing there, and then Cersei comes in. She takes her chairs. She sits next to Daddy, And then Tyrion takes his chair and sits at the other end of the table, right across from Tywin, at the other end of the head table.
Which, I mean, and that in and of itself, even though that scene is played for laughs, that in and of itself
is a lot of storytelling.
Is very telling about the dynamic between those three characters. Absolutely. The relationship between father, daughter, and son.
Absolutely. I found this one to be interesting because we learn a little bit about what's happening during the war, as far as like Harrenhal, the Boltons, because they mentioned Roose Bolton, who I believe is ultimately going to betray Robb Stark. So I was listening to find out like if they were dropping little seeds here and there as far as like what we're going to see towards the end of the season. Didn't really see anything there, but I just like the fact of what they were actually talking about. And of course, Baelish was talking about Aaron, John Aaron's wife, which is Lady Stark's sister, and that he was saying like how they were close, and then if he gets close to her, then he would have command over the Lord of the Vale, which we're going to see played out later on in season 6. So I thought that was interesting that they dropped these little tidbits about John Aaron's wife. So I don't know, I thought there was a lot of seeds being planted for what we're going to see in upcoming seasons as well.
Yeah, because that's one of the more pertinent things about this scene is that, in regards to Baelish and Tyrion, is that Tyrion remarks that it might, because Peter Baelish is Master of the Coin at this point, right?
Yeah.
And he is in his conversation with Tywin, and they're talking about Aaron. They're saying, all right, Tywin says, all right, you need to go politic that, make that union happen, what have you.
Yeah.
And so it could be beneficial to us for what we're trying to accomplish. And Tyrion, being the one who is always thinking multiple steps ahead, and he advises that, hey, it might not be a good idea for the Master of Coin to not be in King's Landing during this time of war.
Yeah.
When, money is going to be very important, especially with the Lannisters and them needing to procure services, sell swords and armies and stuff like that, and them always being known for money and paying back their debts and all that shit. Tyrion says it might not be wise for you to leave when we're at a place where our financial state is going to be very important. And that's when Tywin says, you're absolutely right. That's why I'm making you the Master of the Coin.
Yeah.
And so that's going to, that also calls back to the conversation that Tywin and Tyrion had earlier when Tyrion was like, yo, I just want what's owed to me.
Yeah.
And Tywin's like, I'm never going to make you lord of anything. But also trying to keep him close, but basically giving him busy work. Yeah,
because Tywin, in that last episode with the conversation they had, Tywin said, like, look, I'm not going to give you Casterly Rock, but I will I'll put you in a position that's suitable for you. So I guess he feels like this position is something that he feels Tyrion can handle.
And to me, it works twofold. One, it sort of not really humbles Tyrion, but it's a slap in the face. Like, I'm going to take you from being Hand of the King, and I'm going to demote you to Master of the Coin.
Yeah.
So it's a slap in the face there, but it's also beneficial to Tywin because Tywin knows that Tyrion is smart. He might not like this job, and it might be beneath what he's owed, but he's going to do a good job at it. It's somebody that can, is just trustworthy. I ain't got to worry about that shit when I'm over here doing this other shit. So it works twofold in that way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump to Brienne and Jaime when they're tied up on the horse with Bolton's bannermen, and the conversation that they were having about what those men, like when they finally settle for camp for the night, that he basically explains to Brienne that, look, they're going to rape you, so it's best that you don't fight back. Because he's like, look, I'm the prisoner of worth here, so it's like there's no reason for you to do that. But Brienne, of course, is not accepting of that. And I just like the fact, just the conversation, because now we're really starting to see what we talked about, at the relationship starting to kind of grow and to build between Jamie and Brienne, and that's going to just further their relationship as we get further along, especially after this episode. But I thought that was a really interesting conversation that they were having,
because this is the first moment that, because prior to this, I mean, they're in this particular situation because they were dueling. They were not dueling. They were, they were trying to kill each other, basically, right?
Yeah, on that bridge.
And even prior to that, damn near every conversation between Jamie and Brienne has been him, just degrading her, talking shit to her, just ripping on her.
Yeah.
So this is the first moment where
you actually see him.
Jamie showing some sort of compassion and concern for her.
Yeah.
And it'll play, that conversation. The payoff to that is at the end of the episode.
At the end of the episode, absolutely.
But it is a shift for that character, and I think for the audience too, because you're like, well, you're so at this point you're used to him just talking shit to her, and now he's showing concern for her. So
Exactly.
I like that, and that this is an episode where we get a layer
of Jamie just kind of pulled back.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Hot Pie when they're at that tavern, at that inn, and he decides to stay behind because he's good at cooking. He's good at making bread.
So we don't see him anymore after this until like season 6, right?
Season 6 or 7.
I'm sorry, 7.
Yeah, because Arya runs back into Hot Pie. So I think this is the last we see of him until he was recently in the most recent season, which it was nice to see him back again, and to know that he's at the same place and still doing good. But I like the fact that he made some bread that was supposed to be the sigil of Arya's house, which was the wolf, and it didn't really necessarily look like a wolf, but so Gendry and Arya say their goodbyes to Hot Pie as they go on with Thoros and the Brotherhood Without Banners, who has the Hound as a hostage, as a hostage. So I just thought that was a nice little scene, just to kind of say farewell for now to Hot Pie, who's a really, really nice, sweet character. I want to talk a little bit about the wildlings when they find those dead horses.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I was a little bit confused because towards the end of that scene, Mance Rayder says that they're going to go to war with Mormont and the Crows. But when they find those dead those dead horses, those horse heads that showed the signal of that signed the sigil of the Night King, I didn't understand why he thought that they had to go. I was a little bit confused because they know about the Army of the Dead, right? So, because I didn't understand what Mance Rayder was saying, because he talked to Jon Snow and said, look, he was like, there was about 300 crows and, they got killed. And he was like, well, what happened to them is basically now they're part of the Army of the Dead. Then he goes to Tormund and said, look, I want you all to climb the wall. He's like, all right, good. We're about to go to war with the crows. But I didn't understand, I know they've been at war in the past, but I didn't know what this moment signified, why they had to make that decision now. I didn't, I was a bit confused about that.
Well, I think, I don't know. I'm gonna approach it from the standpoint of someone who hasn't seen from this episode on, basically taking the information that we've been given.
Yeah.
So I feel like because the wildlings know of the White Walkers, and they said that it was about 200 or 300 men that just died.
Yeah.
So if the crows keep coming north of the wall, they keep bringing these people over, and they keep getting killed by the Night King. The Night King's army keeps getting bigger
and growing.
So if we go to the wall and stop that, but also maybe that puts them in a fortified position, because they know they know the army's coming.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna have to, because at some point even before even before like season 7 or whatever, when shit gets crazy, the wildlings come south of the wall anyway, because that's when Bran is in the tower and Jon is outside, and they're so close by, and Bran is warging, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, I feel like the wildlings feel like, all right, shit's getting crazy up north of the wall. This army is getting bigger. We got no choice but to go south. So they're kind of being forced to migrate.
Yeah, they're pushing them south because of the army that's coming. And then, of course, the crows are the ones that they're going to run into them.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I think that's where we get to when we have that big battle in season 4 between the wildlings and the crows. Okay, I think that does make sense. That does make a little bit more sense.
I could be wrong. Let me know.
It was just a little. I didn't know why Mance Rayder made that decision to attack the crows when they found those horses, and knowing that was from the White Walkers, and why that would lead. But if they were doing that to try to keep them at bay, so that they don't have the Night King and his army grow, then that does make sense if that's the motivation behind that. Let's get to Craster's place. So Mormont and the crows get back to Craster's place, and I want to focus on Gilly. So Gilly is giving birth, and she's out in like a little hut outside of the main area for where Craster stays. And Sam goes out there to kind of investigate the sound, make sure she's doing okay and whatnot. So we learned in one of the previous scenes in one of the episodes from last season that Gilly was trying to leave Craster's place because she said, "Look, I'm pregnant. If I have a boy, then it's not going to be good for me. He's going to take my son, and God knows what's going to happen. But we know what he does with the baby boys." Yeah. So she gives birth to the kid, and we come to find out that she's giving birth to a boy. And knowing that information, and Sam sees that, now Sam has to make a decision, and he doesn't have Jon there, to confide in.
That's right.
Yeah, he doesn't have Jon there to either try to, confide in or try to get some advice from. So now Sam is just out there, and now he's going to have to make a decision, and we ultimately know what decision he's going to make. But I just thought that was an interesting scene to finally see, okay, what's going to happen next for Gilly in this moment. And I know he's going to end up killing a walker at some point. And I don't know if that's going to come up soon, but as far as...
I think so, because the way that I remember is when he kills that walker, it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And he has a dragon glass, because now he's they showed it in one of the previous episodes when they found it, so he has it on him.
He has that.
And so we know that it's at nighttime when Craster takes the baby out into the woods so that the White Walkers can come. So I don't remember, but I'm putting together what we've seen.
Okay.
He's going to go out there at night, just like Jon did, to get that baby.
And then
when the White Walker comes,
he's going to run and then he's
save the baby.
Yeah. Okay, that does make sense. Because I do remember it being that night when he killed that White Walker.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be coming up soon in one of these upcoming episodes.
But you know what? But this is a pivotal episode for that particular scene. Is pivotal for Sam, because we just came off of the last time we saw Sam. He wanted to give up. You know, no one wanted him to be part of the group. The other two dudes left him because they were worried about self-preservation. So Sam, and then the last time they were at Crasher's place, he was making all the wrong decisions and stuff like that, and he had Jon with him there.
Yeah.
So I say it's pivotal because, like you just mentioned, Jon is still with the wildlings, and so Sam's next couple of courses of actions are going to be based on his own judgment, and he's going to take initiative and do these things on his own. And these are going to be big. These are going to be big moments for him. Killing the walker to discover that it is Dragonglass that can kill him.
Yeah.
He's saving the baby, and he's saving Gil. He's taking them from there. So he's got a huge moment coming up for him,
and the fact that these decisions are ultimately going to put his people, his crows at risk because of Craster. Because Craster's like, look, don't even look at my girls. Yeah. And the fact that if whatever decision Sam makes, that's going to put them at risk.
But one thing we haven't mentioned is the when they go back this time to Crasher's place, the first time they go there, Crasher's there. It's almost like the same. It's the same setup. Like he goes there, he's talking shit about everybody. Like, yo, I can talk shit to you because this is my house, y'all, and you have to sit here and take it because I let you stay here. You need to be grateful. So let me talk shit to you and all my daughters / wives in here. And at first, it's John is with them the first time in there. John Snow, and he's the one that's taken aback by it and like, yo, I don't like this dude. He's an asshole. Yeah. And Mormont's there like, look, he's letting us stay here, so just be quiet, man. We'll be out in the morning. This time,
Mormont is the one.
Mormont's the one that's like, yo, I'm ready to pop you in the mouth because I don't like the way you're talking.
Yeah.
So, and I don't remember if this is the case, but again, taking the information that I have from this rewatch, it feels like. Because the first time Sam is caught talking to Gilly or whatever, or looking at her, everyone's upset. And when John challenges Craster, Mormont's upset. Like, yo, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But this time, it feels like, and particularly because of this exchange and the way Mormont is not feeling this dude's energy no more.
Yeah.
It feels like when Sam makes the decision to save the baby, take the dragon glass and kill that walker, it feels like this time Mormont's not gonna push back so hard. He's probably gonna be like, yo, this motherfucker deserves whatever.
Exactly. Because Mormont already knows what Craster is doing, especially with these baby boys, and the fact that now the shit that they've experienced north of the wall with the army of the dead, it's just like when they get back,
and this dude is feeding babies to this army of the dead.
Exactly.
And this army of the dead is doing this shit that, like you said, Mormont just experienced. So he kind of probably feels some type of way, like, yo, I've been turning a blind eye to this dude.
He's
feeding
like, I can't do that shit no more. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was a really, really pivotal scene. You're right. Let's get to Danny when she's bargaining for the Unsullied army.
This is a pivotal scene too.
Yeah, so she basically, what's his name? Master, oh goodness. I didn't
the bald-headed dude?
Yeah, the bald-headed guy. I can't remember his name. I can see the spelling of it, but I can't remember exactly what his name was. But I mean, this dude is just mad disrespectful. He's talking in Valerian language, and of course, Danny can understand it, but she's playing coy. She's playing like she doesn't understand. But he's saying all these different things where she wants to buy all 8,000 Unsullied and the boys that are in training as well. And he's just spitting off saying, look, everything you got, the ship, the Dothraki, your gold, this is only going to buy you so much. So how do you plan on buying the other 7,800 and some odd Unsullied soldiers? So she's like, look, I got dragons. And this is her setting up she's up here plotting. She's setting all this stuff up for what we're going to see in the next episode, which is badass. But I like the fact that she's becoming this leader of wanting to rescue and be a savior for these slaves, because we see her earlier in Astapor with these slaves that are kind of hung up and, Jesus like on like a cross, and they're bleeding, and she tries to offer one of them water, and Barristan Selmy and Jorah like, look, don't do that. Like, don't let them see you doing this. And but she's like, look, I feel like I need to do something to save these people. And I just like when she's in there bargaining, because we're going to start to see her play as to how she's going to go ahead and get the Unsullied army. So definitely a pivotal scene.
This scene also mirrors the one with Sam in that, well, at least thematically, sort of, in that. So prior to the bartering, when she's like, yo, I want all the Unsullied, and he's like, yo, I'll give you maybe 20 of them or whatever. He's basically insulting her. But prior to that, when we have the scene when is Jorah and what's the other guy? Selmy they're flanking her, and they're both counseling her. Jorah's like, yo, how many wars have you been in, Selmy? And Selmy's like, I've been in 3. He's like, how many innocents did you see die there? Women, kids, blah, 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 blah. And so Danny is basically asking their counsel, like, do you agree? Do you not agree? Like, what do you think? And Jorah's telling, like you said, Jorah's advising, yo, you shouldn't show this particular type of mercy. You shouldn't let them see you like that. So they're both advising her, and they both have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
And it's been that way, especially with Jorah. He's been advising her. Basically that's his job. That's why he's there. But when we get to the scene where she's bartering for the Unsullied, right before she proclamates that, yo, I'll give you one of the dragons, she's looking up and she sees some of the people there in chains, right?
Yeah.
And she's thinking back to the guy who was crucified, and she's thinking back to all the slaves, and you could see her working. You could see her come to the conclusion, like, you know what? Yeah, I heard what you said, Jorah. Yeah, I heard what you said. Sell me.
Yeah, but this is.
I'm gonna do what I feel is right now. I'm gonna make this choice and this decision on my own, based on my own logic and my own feelings and my own emotions and my own, what I believe in.
Yeah.
And that's when she offers the dragon. And because she doesn't confer with either one of those, they're like, yo, wait, what are you doing, like, Danny? So they question her in front of those people. So after that exchange goes down, they leave. She ultimately makes the deal for the dragon. But another important thing that happens is she also bargains for Missandei. And so when that happens, she tells Jorah and Selmy, don't you ever question me and my authority in front of anyone else again, or else you'll be advising someone else.
Yeah, she's a mother. She's not just the mother of dragons. She's the mother of these two motherfuckers.
Yeah, and I think that, and granted, while it is, wise to seek and have and consider counsel, I mean, but specifically for her, with
in that moment,
not even just in that moment, but what it represents in the grand scheme of her character arc, someone who's come from, not having autonomy, not having, people taking her opinion as it matters, and having to seek advice and help, and she's doing this because she's trying to get help, she's trying to amass an army. So in this moment, she's like, yo, I'm gonna make a decision on my own. I don't need your help. I'm gonna do what I feel is right. I have a plan that I constructed, and I'm gonna enact, and it's gonna work ultimately. And I think that, but it's such a huge moment when it comes, not just a payoff for, the whole time she knew what you were saying, dude, or oh shit, the dragon turn around and burn the dude, but just that triumph that she got that army on her own. Mm-hmm. She got that army with her own plan, her own idea. And I think for that character, that's a huge moment.
Yeah. So let's get to Tyrion and his his reward to Podrick.
Another, you know what? This so the opening scene has a bit of humor in it. The scene at the small council, is played for humor. Yeah. And then this scene right here is played for humor.
Yeah.
And jumping ahead to the end credits and the song is even played for humor. Yeah. Juxtaposed with what just happened immediately preceding that before we cut to black.
Exactly.
This, for me, there has been moments of humor, and you remarked about this in season 2. It's like season 2, you remembered it being like very humorous, but I don't think in any episode up to this point had this amount of humor in one singular episode.
Yeah, in one episode.
But this was a funny scene though.
Yeah, and the way that it kind of plays out all the way through. So basically, they're at Baelish's brothel, and Tyrion owes Podrick his life. Basically, he saved his life. Yeah. So he owes a tremendous debt to him. And Podrick, he's in the brothel, and he's got a wandering eye. He hasn't necessarily been with a woman, never been with a woman, and so he's got a wandering eye. So Tyrion decides to give him a gift. He was like, "Look, this is how
gifts.
Gifts, yeah, plural." So he says, "Look, this is what I'm gonna do for you. All right, you're gonna stay here. I got you this room. It's a lady here. She's good with first timers. But also there's another lady here, and
another one.
And then right over here there's another one. So
and a Cirque du Soleil lady over here.
Yeah, very flexible, very very limber, very athletic. And he's like, look, so me and Braun are gonna go. We're gonna go read these books. Take your time. Just make sure you're back by supper. So we can continue. So they leave Podrick to his own, to leave him at his own devices, and he does what he needs to do. So we cut to Tyrion and Bronn, and Podrick comes back, and it's a little bit later in the day. And he was like, okay, he's like, yeah, did everything go well? Like, did you pay them? And he still has like the bundle of cash that Tyrion gave him. He was like, wait a minute, what happened? I thought you didn't pay, like, we always, pay our debts, what happened? Did you? He's like, yeah, but
he said they wouldn't accept it.
They wouldn't accept it. He was like,
so the scene plays like Podrick got scared and was like, I couldn't do it. Here's the money back.
And that's what I thought. I was like, oh, Pods, come on, man. Like, that's what I thought. But it doesn't really play out that way.
Nah.
The
Podrick was so good that they was like, yo, this one's on the house, bruh. We're gonna pay you. Here, take this money, and
So Bronn and Tyrion are like, wait a minute. Wait. So they.
So prior to Podrick coming in as newly appointed Master of Coin, Tyrion's looking over the books, and this is also important though. Because Tyrion, he remarks that he's always been under the impression that when it comes to money, as far as procuring it for the kingdom or whatever, urban legend is he does magic. Like, he just snaps his fingers, and whenever there's a need for cash, he has his cash.
Because they're talking about loans and lending. Because Bronn that's a bit funny too when they talk about, like, have you ever loaned money, and then just when you loan money out, you have to pay it back with interest. And
so Tyrion's looking over the books and goes, and he's realizing that no, it's not magic. It's not that he's making this money come out of thin air. He's borrowing a lot of this money, and it's money that, as of right now, we can't afford to pay back.
Yeah, because they're borrowing from the Iron Bank of Bravos.
Right, and so basically Tyrion's inherited a mess that he's going to have to clean up financially in regards to the books. So, I mean, Tyrion is at the very least like, all right, I got to get down to business. And that's when Pod walks in, and then he reveals that, they wouldn't take the money.
They wouldn't take the money.
And it was like, but did you do anything? He's like, yeah, I did all kind of shit. And so they were like, wait a minute, I paid them like plenty of times. And then, Podrick was like, well, I guess maybe they like me. And then Bronn's like, but they're paid to like you. And then Tyrion goes, but they gave the money back.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, you telling me that they liked you so much that they gave it to you for free?
It's like, nah, take your money. We're good. And it's like, and then so Tyrion pulls up a chair. He's like, hold up.
They pulled up a chair, poured some drinks. They was like, yo, we need stories.
It's like, we need details.
We need all the details. He said copious. We need copious detail.
So I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. And that's the first time that we really get a meaty scene with Podrick, because he's kind of been in the background. Yeah. And of course, during the battle when he saves Tyrion's life. Mm-hmm. And so it's fun. It's a fun scene for Podrick to kind of get a moment to shine. And he's going to have more of that when his relationship with Tyrion gets closer as we move get closer to where we are in the season now. Yeah. So I had that scene. So now we have Ramsay saves Theon. Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit.
Bruh.
I talked about this in the last episode where they are really playing these mind games with Theon. These are like psychological mind games, and you kind of hinted at the fact that for the character of Ramsay, that this is kind of psychotic, what he's doing.
Ain't no kind of, that is 100% psychotic.
So he's playing like he's this rescuer, that he's basically saving Theon from the Brotherhood, from Bolton's bannermen.
Because in the previous episode, he comes into his chambers and he's like, he takes his hood off. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to help you, so just wait for me. I'll be back tomorrow, whatever. And then Theon's like, no, wait, don't leave me. Puts the hood back on, and that's that. This episode, Ramsay sets him free, and when we catch up to him, Theon's on horseback, and he's got the guards chasing him.
Yep, he's out in the open. Basically, Theon is free. If in his mind, if he knew what was going on, I mean, he's still a prisoner in his mind, but physically he's free.
Yeah.
But Ramsey's playing these games with him, so he's out in like this open field. He sees the Bannermen out in the a little bit further out, and they see him, so they pursue him, and they're on chase, and they get into the wooded area, and they're going through the woods, but they end up catching up to him, and they start to beat him, and then you start seeing these arrows coming in from everywhere.
So prior to this happening, I couldn't remember. I was under the assumption that, because I was joking about it when we were watching, I was like, all right, because at this point I know at the very least Ramsey is fucking with him. He let him go on purpose with the intent to recapture him.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, all right, I was laughing at, man, that's a funny. That must have been a funny meeting that they had, like sitting around with all these guys. Like, all right, this is what I want you to do. We're gonna let him go, and I want you to chase him on horseback. And then when we get into the woods, you're gonna act like you're gonna beat him up, and I'll come in and save him. And that'll just mess with his head to gain his trust.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're in on it, right? But then they
the soldiers are in on it.
They corner him, they knock him off his horseback, and they're about to. The one dude's about to rape him. Right?
Yeah, he is.
Rape Theon.
He is.
He catches an arrow in the back.
It's so funny because when you said that, because I remember those guys getting killed, and then when you said, because I never thought of it like, because the first time I saw it, I'm thinking this guy is really there to save them, right? So when, like, after you mentioned that, I was like, well, wait a minute. So if they really like plotted all this stuff out, and then he ends up killing them, and
That means someone, all right, I'm gonna take one for the team just to make the whole.
Yeah, I was like, well, this shit. Maybe Ramsey told them something different, and then said, "Nah, I'm gonna do something else."
Yeah, so that's what makes this shit so psychotic. Like they wasn't in on that shit.
I know. I didn't think about that until you said it while we were watching it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" But wait a minute, he didn't tell them what he.
Yo, that's fucked up.
That is psychotic. that's fucking psychotic as hell.
I mean, I was joking like when they were on horse. It was a horse chase. And I was laughing. I was like, man, this is gotta be like the most fucked up elaborate prank ever. But that's the fact that they even the Bannermen weren't in on it. That takes that shit to a whole nother level.
You know it because the one Bannerman says because when he the last one that's living, he looks at Ramsey. He was like, "You bastard!"
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Wait a minute, this isn't what we agreed on."
Yeah. Damn, dog. All of that, the sacrifice of those men, his own men, just to fuck with Theon's head. That's crazy, dog.
Bruh, that's wild.
And granted, people give Joffrey a lot of shit because he's an asshole. He's scum of the earth, right?
Yeah.
But Joffrey's like a fucking kid. He's being he's like a shitty like brat teenager.
Yeah.
Ramsey's fucking crazy.
He's crazy.
He is crazy.
Yeah. He takes up the mantle for the most despicable and unlikable character after Joffrey is gone. Because Ramsey, Jesus, man.
And I had forgotten. It's funny, again, on a rewatch, seeing this particular scene, just knowing how bad he gets, right? Or how much evil that this character comes to be. Yeah. It's funny watching this scene right now, knowing he's gonna surpass Joffrey as far as like being fucked up.
Yeah, the shit with Sansa in like season 5.
Yep.
Oh my god, yeah, man. All right, it was the last scene. Jaime. Okay, so Jaime, I got Jaime saves Brienne from being raped, and then ultimately he loses his hand. So some of the soldiers, some of the bannermen, they take Brienne and they take them out, and they take her out into the woods.
It's just like what Jaime said. That's one thing I remarked. Like, when he's on horseback and he's telling her, "Yo, they're gonna rape you," because of the conversations that they've been having up to this point, one could almost take it like, again, he's just saying some mean shit to her to fuck with her, to scare her or whatever. Yeah. But he's right. He first of all, he wasn't just trying to fight. He was being genuine, and he was genuinely concerned because he knew. But it also just goes to show of Jaime's experience and just how much he knows about these types of people.
Yeah. So he is talking to, I don't know the guy's name, Noah Taylor from Vanilla Sky and Tomb Raider.
Wow, you picked Tomb Raider. That man was so much other shit that's good. He's an Edge of Tomorrow, and you gonna jump to fucking Tomb Raider? God damn. Yeah, he was the guy that the Full Metal bitch got to say, you know what? I got a guy who is just like me. I need you to help me figure out a way to do blah 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 blah.
Oh, cause you just watched that movie? Cause you sent me that shit on you text me.
That shit is fucking hilarious. Anyway,
Noah Taylor. So Jamie's talking to him, and he's saying like, "Look, do you know who she is? That's Brienne of Tarth, and her father is Selwyn Tarth, and you know they have oh goodness, what's the material that he says that's sapphire, that's made of gemstones. So look, if you return Brienne back to her father unbesmirched." It's a weird
big word, got your ass in trouble.
Yeah, and so he's like, so Noah Taylor's like, unbesmirched, huh? Okay. So he brings his men back, and they chain Brienne back up. So he was like, "Look, can I rest? Can you unchain me so I can, you know, this tree is not good for my back." And he was like, "Sure, why not?" So they unchain him. They bring him over to a table because they're going to quote unquote feed him. And so he's like, "Look, you think so Noah Taylor basically says, look, you think you're a good talker." So he puts like a knife to his eye, and like he's about to jab it in there. And then he comes to the point where he takes the knife and chops Jamie's hand off, and he starts to yell uncontrollably, which I think anyone would, and shockingly. And then we cut to black. But I don't know, man.
And you get that nice.
Yeah, you get this weird music, this fucking rock song with like electric guitars and drums.
If I remember correctly, because when we catch up with in the earlier part of the episode, when we first catch back up with Arya, when we first catch back up with Jamie and his captives, they're singing that song.
I think it is a song that
they're singing. They're singing on horseback. They're singing a song, all of them in unison. And then as the camera goes down the line, that's when we see Jamie and Brienne on the horseback. But that group was singing that song.
Yeah, and that
without electric guitar.
Yeah, but now we have a rock version of it that plays during the end credit scene. And it's so funny because I've been listening to like all the soundtracks for all the seasons, and I'm up to season 6. So I'm almost gotten through all the soundtracks. And I remember I was in my car listening, and I was like, what the hell song it? Like, this doesn't even sound like something that would be in Game of Thrones. When the hell was this played during the season? Of course, it would have to be an end credit sequence.
Yeah.
But I was like, when the fuck did they have electric guitar in Westeros? So like,
it's like this punk song.
It's such an odd choice, but like you say, it goes to how odd this kind of episode.
They just made this episode. It just complimented because it just made it just a punctuation on the offbeat. The tone of it being offbeat and a bunch of scenes of it.
Very much so. So yeah, Jamie has finally lost his hand, and we'll catch up to see what happens with that, and also to see the relationship of him and Brienne, kind of see how that grows. But I thought this is a really, really good episode. So we're headed into episode 4. My apologies. I have to do the same thing. I'll put the name of this episode somewhere in this video. I apologize. I'll do better. Do better. Anyway, let us know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Remember to rate, like, subscribe, and share. Check out our other dorks at MouthDork, at WB Dash, at Sidewalk Siren. This is Disco. I am Turtle, and we are out.
Peace.